This is the ABQ Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week we'll interview visionary business leaders to inspire the creative power and spirit that's in every entrepreneur. Discussing strengths, weaknesses, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together for a new future for local small business.
What is up, guys? Got a really amazing podcast today. I have Cliff, and I'm going to make sure I pronounce this right. Cliff, here we go. So it's Feigenbaum. I probably pronounced it.
That is correct.
Oh, okay, good. And kind of like real quick before I introduce you, kind of give a little. I think this is awesome. So in German, what does it mean?
It means fig tree.
That's so cool. That's exciting. Yeah. So like you were saying with Christmas and stuff like that, that's really cool.
Yeah, O Tannenbaum is how it's the Christmas song. So that's how I learned about that. The last part of my name means tree. So the whole thing is fig tree.
That's super cool. Well, Cliff started Green Money Journal. He launched it in 1992. You also co-wrote a book, Investing with Your Values, Making Money and Making a Difference. And that was published by Bloom Press in New York City. And your goal for Green Money is to help people make informed financial decisions from the stock market to the supermarket. And the overall mission is to influence capital. I know you wrote that, Cliff. What do you mean when you say influence capital?
Well, it really is from every way that you deal in the world with your money. The way you shop, the way you invest, who you do business with, how you do business with them, really is about capital. And how do you bring your values into that relationship? And we ask people, how do you want to create the kind of world you want to live in using your money? And so influencing capital can start from the way we shop, what stores we shop at, what products, all the way up to institutional money at foundations, the way a Gates Foundation might invest their money, or they might how they invest in impact investing themselves. So it's a big spectrum.
And so this is, back in 1992. So you decided this, and because I kind of want to start from the beginning, if you don't mind, when you came with Green Money Journal, the word green back in 1992, how was that looked at, especially in the investing sector?
It's true. It was very different. It was a very small marketplace. And the reason that I started the Green Money Journal was I was working at a hospital in the Northwest and found out that my 401k plan that I'd chosen some years before, really not knowing what I was choosing, I got the information of the annual report, looked at the holdings within the companies that are held within that mutual fund, and to my surprise, there was a bunch of tobacco stocks. And I thought, well, how inappropriate for a healthcare institution to have retirement plans with tobacco stocks.
Right.
And I thought, if I want to make basic informed financial decisions, there's probably lots of people who do. And that's how I started a little 4-page newsletter in 1992 without any publishing background at all. Just had a friend who was a really good editor. And so we had to search out green stories and socially responsible investing. But it was there and has just grown ever since.
That's so revolutionary thinking, because like you said at the time, I think everything was just all about gain, and thinking long term and not even thinking about. And I know there's a lot of people that have mutual funds or ETFs or whatever they have, and they're not even realizing that the beliefs that they have inside of themselves is different from what they're actually putting their money towards.
Well, and it's a question that we have developed over the years to ask people, what do they want to profit from, and what don't they want to profit from? What business activity do you want to support, and what don't you want to support? Because your money is supporting whatever you put it towards, or the reverse. If you take your money away from things, divestment is part of that term these days. But I think that, a funny story is that when Bloomberg Press out of New York called me We had been doing the newsletter for about 5 years. We had gone online, actually, with greenmoney.com in 1995. And someone approached me about doing that, and I really didn't know what the internet was in 1995. And so it really helped us step up our visibility. So the phone rang one day in 1997, and it was Bloomberg Press. And I thought it was one of my friends giving me a hard time because I couldn't believe that, Bloomberg out of New York would be calling us.
Right.
And so they said, no, we've heard about you. We want to do a book on socially responsible investing. And, you know more than we do. And we want to, and I said, well, I don't know that we can work together because I believe in principles and profits, and you just believe in profits. And they're like, no, we see this coming. We think it's going to be huge. You're the expert. Please work with us on writing a book. 2 years later, I was standing in Bloomberg headquarters in New York City launching a book with a couple of financial planners who had been experts in this area. And so exciting journey.
Yeah, that seems like, it's just so forward thinking, especially back then. Like you said, what was the internet in 1995?
Yeah, exactly. Enter what? Yeah.
Now, was it just you putting on, putting this paper? Was it, did it start out as like a small newsletter? And then, how did it, how are you getting this information, back then, especially? It must have been so hard to, do the research.
Everything was, really in paper. And so there was a few newsletters. There was several mutual funds that had focused on sustainable investing. And so I started, developing the different aspects of green money, reporting on all the funds that were doing this. What were the difference in the different funds? What were some of the events that were happening and growing? And, so we put together an extensive sustainability calendar that we still run today. It's one of our most popular things on our calendar because we maintain, I think there's about 70 events listed all over the world, and people send me their events because they want to be on the Green Money calendar because we're so well read. So we just started with little things that were, somewhat of interest to me that I want to explore this more. So how do we bring, what do our readers want to learn about? What should they be learning about? I knew more than most people. And so we were really, curating and guiding the conversation because, again, that I managed information, not money, that people were willing to, advertise with us. And we were one of the few resources where people could get this information. And so it was, we had to spend a lot of time sending away for information and looking around for information and who are the best people to interview. And people would say yes, because we were such a unique resource. And that's still the case of getting really top-notch people because we do, I consider what we do really top-notch work. Our design, our information, it's key to making good financial decisions in life.
Yeah. And I love what you said. And this is, I think, so important for people that are out there, especially if they're wanting to start a business, whether it be online or whatever. It's like you had this curiosity and then you had this passion and you saw this issue or problem that was happening and then you just executed on it. And, that to me is amazing.
Well, I think you're hitting on what I tell entrepreneurs when I give talks. Is that if you see a problem in the world, it's probably a unique way that you're seeing it and looking to solve it. That belongs to you. That is your vision, and take advantage of it because people aren't seeing it the way you see it. And if you've got a solution for that, fantastic. And so people ask me, well, there's more newsletters, there's more websites now, you have more competition. And I'm like, the more the better, because they're not going to be, we've outlasted a whole lot of people over the decades that we've been publishing. But I'm always encouraging, like some new folks that I'm working with now, Climate and Capital Media. They're taking on a very important growing slice of climate finance. And I'm like, what is that? And so we're bringing kind of a way to show companies, because the truth is that all these sustainability issues are bottom line issues for companies. Waste is expensive.
Right.
Pollution is expensive. Reputational risk out there if you put out bad products and are not treating employees well. This is very expensive. In fact, I spoke to someone at SAP a couple of years ago, the computer company, the software company, and they said that if they lose an employee because they're unhappy, they're losing $100,000 worth of training walking out the door. So why don't they build a better company that people want to work at?
That's so good.
So
yes.
The truth is, these are bottom line issues that affect companies. So the better the companies operate in sustainable business, the better bottom line they're going to have.
Yeah, and something that you said, and I think it's so important, is because everything is always geared towards the dollar. It's always geared towards profit and maximizing that. But they're not looking at, especially as business leaders, business owners, they're not looking, like you said, that intangible asset of having that sustainable business. And I know that's one of the key things that you have. I'm on your website right now looking at it, and one of the tabs that you have is sustainable business. Can you kind of, I know you're an expert in this and been doing this for years or for decades. Can you kind of describe to someone what a sustainable business is?
Well, I think we kind of talked about it a little bit in the fact that it's really about how you do your business, how you treat your employees, making good products, enhancing the marketplace. Having it be a good place to work and good products to put in the marketplace. How are you enhancing life? It's kind of a question that to me is important with sustainable business, because, boy, as we've seen this year, it's not easy for entrepreneurs out there, and it wasn't easy before. Now it's even more challenging. And if you can hold to that vision that you have of what you're trying to bring to the world and what you're trying to accomplish in the world, I think that's a really important aspect of that people will respond to. That I think we see good brands out there that people respond to, something like a Patagonia, because they know that it's quality, and their quality and commitment to social responsibility. And great.
Yeah, and I know I know you mentioned that brand. Have you seen a shift in like larger corporations over these years? Are they looking at it as like a primary change that they have to do? Is it a forced change? What are you seeing with all the research and everything that you guys are doing?
The truth is that every Fortune 500 company now, and every small company, I think, looks at sustainability issues because, like I said, they are bottom line issues, and they cannot be unaware of what's happening in the marketplace. And so when we talk about Wall Street, we see companies all the way up to an investment firm called BlackRock,
right,
that goes to Davos and talks about sustainable investing is the only way investing should happen in the future, and it will be what we will hold all the companies in our portfolios to account to meet these standards. Now, those standards are still in development, and they will develop over time. But to have the largest fund manager, the largest money manager in the world start talking about things I'm talking about, it's really exciting, because then every company has to start reporting to BlackRock, has to start reporting their accounting standards around sustainability to these companies and to the mutual funds. Now there's, I think Morningstar reported, there's over 200 to 300 screened mutual funds. And maybe we should talk about that a little bit, about what it is that we're talking about when we talk about the different aspects of sustainable investing.
Well, I also think it becomes like, unfortunately, like we see now, everything's becoming polarizing or very political. And I don't see this issue as being a right or left issue. I see it as a humanity issue, as a world issue, a global issue. And I appreciate companies like you said, BlackRock, who's huge, coming up and making those statements. So do you see hope? I mean, is there a lot of hope? Because we always look at Wall Street, as kind of being, those guys that smoke cigars, or you said like they go to Davos and, hanging out and making decisions. Are you seeing like maybe a new generation of an investor and these bankers and stuff coming out and really embracing this? Do you see this being a 20-year thing, a 50-year thing, or is this something that is going to, like you said, going to be rewrote, and we're going to see this be the norm?
Unstoppable progress. The unstoppable momentum is just, I'm just thrilled. I'm 20 years into this, and it is not the time to be getting tired. This is the time that we've been pushing for. This industry has been pushing for this. I've been waiting for this and wondering when it was going to turn, because it makes so much sense to me. Right. It made sense to me in 1992. And I was like, so it's been an uphill battle. I used to, be asked to leave offices. Now I'm paid to come into offices. So yes, the conversation is easier. It is much more widespread in every area. I even had a friend in New York just launch a new website called Investable Oceans. They're looking at sustainable investments, all to do with the ocean. Now that's getting very specific.
Yes.
And then they're putting up events, they're putting up, books and movies, and they're filling up websites with this information. I am like thrilled that everything from the way we drive to the oceans to air pollution to everything that we deal from sustainable agriculture. I think it's part of why we deal with so many different topics with green money through a year. We'll go with millennials in money. We'll look at women in investing. We'll look at sustainable agriculture. We'll look at renewable energy. We'll look at even faith and finances. Another really big part of faith-based investing is part of this conversation of aligning money with values. So yes, I'll end with this part of what I think has been a tremendously good report in the fact that money is flowing into this industry, into sustainable investment funds, to the tune of $20 billion last year, 2019, while everything was rolling full blast. This year, 2020, it has not slowed down at all. It's on set for a record pace that over $10 billion went into sustainable funds in the first half of this year. And so it really shows that people and companies want this. And so it's very exciting time.
I love that.
And so green money is trying to be on the forefront of all this. And, it's a lot of work, but we love it.
I don't know. You guys are like like how Star Trek said, that going into the frontiers and going out into that space. And I know you've done that and been a catalyst to this happening. What else do you think has caused this? Is it just humans in general having a different shift? What are some of the things that you think has caused this to now not be such an uphill battle?
Well, I think that in a lot of ways, it's making more sense to people when we talk about the four different aspects of sustainable investing, where we ask people, and it's really about, what do you want to invest in? What type of business activities, what type of businesses do you want to invest in? What don't you want to invest in? Meaning how to keep your money away from things that you object to. So understanding what kind of, there's enough good, green, sustainable funds out there that you can easily avoid things that you do not want to invest in. Then the other aspect is community investing and how do you invest locally? How do you keep your money working in your local community, like the HomeWise Community Fund here in Santa Fe and Albuquerque is something I personally invest in, and actually can drive down the street and see homes being built by HomeWise. So I literally can physically see my investment changing people's lives to being, having low income, affordable housing that and financial literacy programs happening through HomeWise, and I'm investing in that, and I love that. And then the fourth aspect is shareholder activism. So when you own a company, you can engage with that company, or the mutual fund that you invest in engages in that company around sustainability issues to make sure that management is being held to account to things that they're saying, as well as things that you want them to be able to do, like BlackRock is influencing the companies that it invests in because it's holding them to a different standard now.
Yeah, that's so amazing to me. It just seems extremely hopeful, and I know right now with everything that's going on, we're grasping for things of hope, and this seems really exciting to me because as where the money's at, as well as I do, where the money's at, that's where the influence is going to come, and that's where things are going to shift. So you're actually extremely hopeful in what's happening right now.
Yeah, because the truth is, people ask me that question, a lot. Am I optimistic? And I'd have to say I really recognize, because we do a lot of research, we're well informed, there is a lot of problems in the world. And we're fully aware of that, but my email is a flood of good news, good solutions, fixes to problems in the world every single day. I can't cover all the good news that's out there. And that makes me very hopeful. And so I see people all over the world doing just amazing things. And so, because I don't think we can depend on government.
Yes,
this
100%.
is up to us.
Right.
And so let's roll up our sleeves. And, even during this challenging year, Green Money's had a very good year. Because we committed to continuing our level of quality and also we could get access to people to write articles that maybe they were too busy before. But now, hey, let's turn a piece for Green Money because we have the time. And so we have just our brand new issue that just went up online on global investing, on global SRI investing is we've got two of the biggest names in the whole industry. Amy Dominy is one of them, and giving her take on global aspects to this conversation. And then for the first time ever, we're having a conversation about China in our pages. And it's not an easy conversation because I personally don't feel that we should be investing in China. Yet some people in our industry do, because engagement can make changes to a company or, to a company as well as to a government if you want to invest in that area. And so for us, we're always looking at what's the new edge? What haven't we covered that we should be covering? That's one thing I miss about not having conferences is the magic that would happen for us of people coming up to us and telling us exclusive information. We want to break this story with you, or we hear somebody on stage we'd never heard before, and we're like, let's get them in our pages, or let's run this video of their talk. And so I really miss seeing people, and I look forward to next year, mid next year. I think we'll have some gatherings once again. Who knows?
Yeah, that there's something about that synergy whenever you have people with a common purpose and a common goal and they get together face to face and have conversations. They're always meaningful.
And that I would have to say that's another aspect of this. And when I talk about our calendar on greenmoney.com, it really shows the global aspect to events in Amsterdam and London and New York and Seattle or Denver or even here in Santa Fe. And so for me, that to me gauges like, where's the interest? How long are these events? How often are these events? Because events somewhat are responsive to the marketplace. And now many of these events, of course, are being held virtually. And they're kind of interesting, but it's surely not, it's not a handshake and a hug. And like you said, there's so much about the synergy of people moving in the same direction. And that was, in fact, one of the things that really got Green Money off the ground. Was about a month after we launched, we got invited to SRI, a sustainable investing event in the Rocky Mountains. And we're like, we're going where? Going to do what? And it was such a great group of people for 3 days that I was like, this is my new family.
Right.
I like where these people get where I want to take this, and they understand it, and they're pushing me to a new level of what we can be about. And it goes all the way back to the South Africa days of divestment from South Africa, pulling General Motors out of South Africa in the late 60s and early 70s. So some real leaders in social transformation and business transformation are in this industry.
Now, I have a question for you, because I know, speaking of events, there's an online event on your website.
Yes.
Are you guys sponsoring that, or is that your event, Verge?
No, that is some friends of ours. We put up all kinds of different events. We do not right now are not hosting events yet. We've been asked to, but there's plenty for us to do, and so that's not. So we just make sure that people know about what's going on out there, and Verge is one of those really impressive events out of the Bay Area that's gotten worldwide attention, and that's coming up later in October.
So you use these two words, and I want, if there's something out there, if we could kind of make it simple for them, what do you mean when you say impact investing?
Well, that's there's been a change in terminology over the last few years, and I'll throw another one at you as I answer your question. But there's been a term called ESG investing, because not everybody liked socially responsible, not everybody liked sustainable, didn't really understand it. But ESG is environmental, social, and governance factors. And that has taken off on Wall Street like we couldn't believe. We were wondering what term is going to work. And ESG has I see it on Bloomberg TV, I see it on CNBC, I hear it talked about, I see it in articles. It's really been an interesting term, and it means nothing different than what we were doing the whole time anyway. Impact investing is that what I consider that thing that we talked about with HomeWise, about investing in your own community, investing in jobs, investing in low-income housing, investing in schools. There's loan funds, there's community development, financial institutions. And so this is something that I actually wrote when we wrote that book for Bloomberg. I wrote that what was called community investing is now called impact investing. So it's really about investing more locally in what I call, changing people's lives, putting money in somebody's hand versus sending your investment off to Wall Street. And so it really is about something that we cover all the time in Green Money about how to transform communities, how to invest in local businesses and in low-income housing in your own area. Because to me, that's got to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, and I think with everything kind of going decentralized, you're hearing that word a lot and seeing it. To me, this seems like something that, like you said, instead of that money going to Wall Street and then them doing with it what they will, it's turning around and you're seeing the direct impact. And I know there's a lot of different ways that you can invest now. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was, do you guys have like lists of ETFs or mutual funds? Do you guys rate them? Is there ways that you can see and say, okay, I'm an investor. This is really interesting to me. I would love to get involved. Do you guys provide that information?
We have access to that information that we can provide to people free. Occasionally we do have the lists. I have some friends at Natural Investments that actually rate all the mutual funds out there with their heart ratings, and Morningstar does their 5-star ratings, 1 to 5 stars on all of these funds. So it depends what level people are at. As a financial professional, they can access Morningstar. As an individual, they could contact Green Money, and we could, turn them on to what the free resources are around this. And that's another key thing, that our biweekly e-journal is a free resource for people. We're advertising supported because we always have believed that information should be free. So people can go on to greenmoney.com and sign up for our newsletter at no cost, because we want to empower people and bring that wall in Wall Street down to encourage people to have a better relationship with their money and how to understand how to create avenues for their wealth to grow. And this is really something that you don't have to start with a lot of money. Again, this is where you bank. This is where you shop. Every aspect of your financial life can have an impact on the world. And so this is, maybe $1,000 that goes into a mutual fund once you have that. But you can start at $50 or $100 with the Calvert investment notes. That's a community investment note that's very reliable, and I've been an investor for over a decade with. And so I know a lot of the players, and I know who's good, and I know who's not good. There's levels of green, so to speak.
Right.
And so that's one of our desires, is that we only work with people who are, who pass the mustard, so to speak, that have proven themselves over time.
I would imagine the ads that you have on your website, thegreenmoney.com, you guys you know them or you vetted them. So there's a lot of like wealth management and different funds and stuff like that they could probably click on and see and get information from.
From our e-journal to our website, every single ad is chosen by me. We have no automated ads going up at any time. And because that is just not for us, they have to go through me to get on the site. So we vet them, like you said, pretty carefully, because, this is our reputation that's out there. And these are the people we want to work with, that we think are going to, that are doing good work. And so we want people to know about them. So many of them will also write articles for us, because that's, they're top-notch people. And this aspect, and I've been with some advertisers have been with us for 20 years. And so we've seen this growth together. We've celebrated this exciting development of, in sustainable finance together. And so, it's a very exciting time for, I know I use that word a lot, but it's true. I feel very fortunate, very blessed to be able to do this work, because it's my life's calling.
I love that. And like I said, I know you're using the word excited, and I am too. Just, there's just, like I said before, there's just this hope that seems to be prevailing through this. And I love that. If you don't mind, I kind of want to get into, because I know this will be exciting for the listeners. I kind of want to get into, if we could get into maybe some examples, or if you have, things that you're seeing, and if we could kind of break down a few of the sectors. But and I know this is probably the biggest one, but energy and climate, from what you saw in the 1990s to now.
Oh boy, it's that awareness to having that conversation about climate and climate finance and climate, renewable energy, how to create investment tools, investment options in these areas, even like sustainable agriculture, how to create an investment, what they call investment vehicles, to bring investment into renewable energy, into funds that care about, that focus on companies that are really doing good things with the climate, are really pushing it. So, there's been a fund out there called New Alternatives that's been around for a very long time, who looks at sustainable agriculture, who looks at renewable energy, and invest in companies on the cutting edge. Sometimes they make money, sometimes they don't, but it's creating a way for people to invest in these different areas that are just growing, because renewable energy, it makes so much sense, and it's in so many different ways. That New Mexico should be, with 300 days of sunshine, we should have renewables up at 50% of our energy supply here. And I think that will come in the next 20 to 30 years, that it has to, and it makes so much sense, because coal, oil, gas, yes, there's jobs, but I also think that there's a whole lot of jobs in renewable energy, and there's a lot less downside risk to them.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I had heard a statistic. I don't know, how accurate it is, and I don't know if you've heard this too, but like Arizona and New Mexico could single-handedly support California, Oregon, and Washington with the amount of days of sun that we have here.
Yes, and it's all about, innovation and technology. I don't know that we've achieved the highest aspect or the peak of our knowledge of being able to store the energy, ship the energy, and so that's still the challenge. So we see an awful lot of investment in battery storage, because we haven't quite got it yet. But we've seen a whole lot of, from Tesla to many, GM investing very heavily into electric vehicles. We've seen that marketplace because people want it. It's consumer driven. And I think more people, just like sustainable finance, sustainable investing is somewhat consumer driven, but consumers need to know that it's out there.
Yeah.
We know a lot more about, organic foods at the supermarket are better for us.
Right.
Yes, they're a little more expensive, but there's more companies getting in and bringing those prices down. So shopping at a Sprouts versus a Whole Foods can make a whole lot of difference, because there's a considerable, probably Sprouts has better prices than Whole Foods. And Whole Foods is owned by Amazon, and who wants to shop there? Not what I would consider a socially responsible company, but their investment in renewable energies and electric vehicles is tremendous. And so Amazon is moving the marketplace literally in many of these areas. So we see Apple and Google, having renewable energy. It's the focus that of their investment. And this is, they can move marketplaces because of the dollars that they bring to say, we want this data center, all supplied with renewable energy, run on renewable energy. And if they say that, they can do it.
Yeah, they have the ability to be able to with their size. I'm also, I heard a story that Walmart is the biggest seller of organic. and of organic food. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then you begin to think of the size and how many there are, and and then begin to look at that,
Right.
and you're like, well, if us as consumers are purchasing that, even from Walmart, if we're purchasing that, then they're going to, if they know that it's feasible for them, and they're seeing that shift in the market, they're gonna supply us with that.
And it's very odd. I had that same, like, Walmart. Are you kidding? I'm not shopping there. And they have made, in the last 10 years, I would say they've probably made more transition to sustainability than just about any company out there. They got it. They started hearing about this and seeing that it was going to save them money.
Right.
That the lighter the boxes could be, that saves them gas in their trucking. The better the trucking system could be for them, the better. Oh, electric trucks, electric vehicles. This could save us. This makes so much sense. Run their stores on renewable energy. Have solar panels on top of their flat roofs on their stores. Wow, generate our own energy. And they, to their credit, to my surprise and their credit, they've gotten it, and they're leading the marketplace. Doesn't mean I shop there yet. I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah, I know, it's interesting because like when I came from Seattle area to Albuquerque, and when I came here to Albuquerque and went to Costco, it was very interesting to see all the parking structures were solar panels.
Yeah, it's like it makes so much sense, and so we, when they say that common sense isn't that common, well, we're trying to make it more common. Some of this stuff.
Yeah, and so when we get into like I know there's different, like, farming is become a huge thing, and I think now, especially with situation with COVID and everybody looking at their health, a little bit more. I think this is kind of a wake up call for a lot of people, and so they're starting to eat a little bit better. And I'm seeing this shift of understanding, like how bad monocropping is, and these big, basically like torture cow.
Yep.
I mean, we've all watched those documentaries on Netflix, where the animals are treated very humanely, and I don't think there's anyone out there, especially now, that would condone any of that. Like on the farming side of things, are you seeing? Is that kind of one of the slower ones, or are they starting to catch on? These I forgot the name of who does all the chicken and stuff. Tyson. Are these large corporations starting to have conversations about it, or are they just going on with their old ways?
Well, I think some are having conversations about it, because who's supplying organic chickens to Walmart?
Right.
Who's supplying? Whose acreage is that organic yogurt being grown on? How many cows? If the demand for Stonyfield organic yogurt has just gone through the roof through their sales in Walmart, that carries all the way back down to the farm, all the way back down to how they treat the animals, and what they treat the animals with, and what they treat the feed with, and what do they feed the animals with, and what about the clean water, and what is the impact on the community, what's the impact on the river, what's the impact on the air. So, when you back this conversation down from you picking up that Stonyfield yogurt all the way back, all the impacts it has on people's lives, and when we talk about ESG, and we talk about environmental, we talk about social, and we talk about governance, sustainable agriculture hits on all of those things, and I love it. It's my favorite investment. I don't personally invest in renewable energy very much, but sustainable agriculture is something that really, because it's the farmer's health, it's our health, it's the health of nature and the environment. It's a win on three different aspects, and if we can make money as well while treating the earth well, each other well, doing good business, putting good products, what else is there? This is what we're trying to do. We should make a a reasonable profit while making good products and treating the earth well. This is about financial stewardship. This is about personal stewardship. It's about environmental stewardship. So you got me kind of going there.
No, I love this. This is very, very
one
interesting.
One of those areas that I think is tremendous. It's like the area of gender diversity at companies, women in management. We've always had like 50% of our writers be women at Green Money because half of our staff, at least probably 2/3 now, are women, and we're always looking at that conversation because the social aspect of what we do is, well, it's impactful. And we see the need for a lot of impact in not only gender diversity, but with minorities, people of color. This is a big conversation around what we were talking about, community and impact investing. So, yes, we could go on for a long time, but so there's this, what we're talking about impacts every aspect of our society. And that's what, to me, is what do we cover and how do we cover it well? That's my daily challenge when I get up in the morning as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I love that. And I kind of want to, we're kind of getting on the tail end of the podcast, but have you, because I know farming is of interest, I want to kind of go back to this and then we'll get into corporations, a little bit of diversity and stuff. Have you ever heard of Polyface Farms?
I have.
Yeah, and that was so interesting. I watched a whole series on them, and just the ability to be, to take soil that was degraded and then turn around, farm on it, and now they have a soil that is rich that will last 40 plus years. In the way that they're doing it, they're actually building the soil up as they're farming, like moving the chickens around and I don't want to get into too much details, but I encourage people, if this is something that they're interested in, these are things that, they can read on your website. And I know you switched, it was quarterly and now you went to monthly.
Yes. And now we're twice a month. We were in print for 20 years, and in 2012, we decided that we were going to go totally online. And we were monthly online, and as things changed, actually right before things changed, we actually went to twice a month in January this year. Just when COVID hit, we decided to expand. So that was quite an undertaking.
I could imagine.
Because there's plenty of information out there. We thought we're a trusted brand. We had some of our advertisers say, we want more of Green Money, and we'll support you. We will advertise more with you because we trust you and we want more of you. So we took that to heart. And in January,
yeah, that's
twice a month. So, and again, we're still free to people and with our e-journal. And so, and they can keep up with us, on the website or sign up for the e-journal.
I think, it's just, and what's cool is you have the past issues on there too. So if somebody wants to look at those, and you have videos and stuff like that on there.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of video, really great, aspect to the, one of the things that happened this year was in our expansion plans, we were launching a podcast as well. And that kind of got put on hold a little bit while, things needed a lot more management and a lot more time that during COVID that has kind of put that on hold for a little bit. So we have to recognize as entrepreneurs, how do we manage our time and what do we do well? What can we be most effective at? And understand that sometimes with expansion plans, you have to pull back a little bit because, that's not defeating. It's not, going out of business. It's just resizing a little bit this year of understanding what we do. Let's do what we do, but do it well. And if we're going to go, it doesn't mean that we're not going to get back to that. But it was a tremendous investment of time and energy and money that we we decided to kind of shelve this year. So there's some rationalization that every entrepreneur has to look at during these times, because it's it's challenging out there, and I yes, that's what I'll say.
Yeah, and I know, I always try to look, maybe I'm too optimistic, but I always try to look at the good things. And, for me, especially with COVID, it's been a time to, kind of reprioritize things and understand, my mission and purpose and things that I was doing and being too busy and not focusing, and gaining clarity on what really is important. And that's something that I heard you just talk about, just now, not only for your company, but like you're saying to other entrepreneurs, because you've been in this game for so long. It's interesting how this time, this pandemic has caused us all to reshift and refocus.
In ways that we had no idea, and how to react to something that we've never experienced before. And how does it affect us personally? How does it affect our friends, our businesses, our families, and how we go forth in the world? Literally, do I go to the gym today? Do I not go to the gym today? Do I go to church today or do I not? What? And then all of a sudden there's this aspect of, people are dangerous because they have the COVID. They have the virus, and it's like how to interact with the world now.
Right.
It's fascinating to me, and I think some of the developments that have come out of it, people do still want to get together, and that if I have to sit through one more virtual conference, it's just not that. It doesn't quite do it for me. I will, but I find myself moving around and doing other things while listening. But it sounds like your podcast has really taken off this year. You've been doing some really great work with your podcast and just continuing to put out good information, have good interviews, because that's really, a unique opportunity that you're answering to.
Yes. And that's something that I want to, as we wrap up, I want to let people know, whenever you take, and we almost, I wouldn't say give our lives, but, when we work and we do the things that we do, and then we plan for our future, especially in investing, there's something that just feels good when you know that money that you work for and that you're putting it in a place that aligns with those values that you hold to be true. And Cliff, I just want to, you're a pioneer in this, and that's, amazing to see that work that you've done since the very beginning, pretty much the very beginning of the internet. And now you're at this point and you've gone uphill for so many decades. And then now the fruit of your labor you're seeing. And it's just exciting to see. And I hope more people will get behind, green money and more people will get behind investing in these sustainable businesses. And in closing, what would you, if you had, something to say to people as they're looking at, maybe they have some money aside that they're looking at, or maybe they've had a business that's doing well and they're looking with their employees what to do, what would you suggest for someone if they're starting out looking at wanting to get, investing where their heart is?
That it's very doable, that there's many, many opportunities to do this, from the local community to Wall Street. And so this reaches around the world now. From Albuquerque to China, they're having these conversations that we were having over this past hour. And so for us, it's really about just beginning to do it and to invest in one of the sustainable mutual funds, what I call creating an avenue for your wealth to flow into. You have to open that fund. You have to you have to do a little research, and we help with that. so that the truth is that when people talk about retirement plans and they talk about retiring well, and I'm like, if you don't invest in good companies that are taking care of our planet or taking care of other people, what kind of world are we retiring into? We have to have a healthy planet, with healthy soil, as you talked about, with healthy food, with renewable energies that create lots of jobs, and, that is enhancing to life. So thank you for having me on.
No, thank you, Cliff. I appreciate it. And I'm super excited. I think today I got an email from you guys did you release an e-journal today?
We did. Yes. Brand new issue is up there right now.
And I encourage everyone, all my listeners, you can go to greenmoney.com. Right on the front, there's right on the website, it says subscribe to Green Money's complimentary e-journal. They can push the little green subscribe button, put their email address in there, and start getting this information. And it's just exciting that you've just kept it, free. That's so awesome, just to be able to. I mean, it's almost kind of like, like this mission that you've put, this thought process that you've came up with in the 90s, and you've just kept it out there and kept that momentum going. And that's sustainable in what you've done. And I really appreciate it.
It's people first, it's people first. That's why we always kept the information free, because we want people to engage with the relationship with money to create the kind of world they want to live in. And so we felt and continue to feel that the information needs to be as accessible to as many people as possible, as many different areas as possible. So we keep it that way. So people first.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks,
and,
Cliff.
And the truth is that this is one thing that we didn't touch on, but I will say in closing is this is absolutely a profitable way to invest. This is on par with, with investments that are not socially responsible, are not sustainable. The maturity of the sustainable investing industry is better research and better performance. And so the returns are right on par, if not better, than the competitors. So this is about making money and making a difference.
That's so great. I love that. Well, thanks, Cliff, and I hope you have a great evening.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share. And go to ABQPodcast.com. Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.